Hi, this is Alex Simon, public health advocate with CoPIRG, here today with a conversation from the Capitol with Representative Junie Joseph. Representative Joseph sponsored a really significant bill for us this past legislative session, tax policies to advance decarbonization. That bill contained the largest state EV tax credit in the country, a really big tax incentive for electric bikes, and a bunch of other policies that'll help reduce ozone and greenhouse gas pollution and improve air quality in Colorado. So, Representative Joseph, thanks so much for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Awesome. Well, before we get started and dive into the bill, I was hoping you could just share a little bit briefly about how you came to get started or have this position as a state legislator.
Yeah, thank you for this question. Again, my name is Junie Joseph. I am a state legislator. I represent House District 10 in Boulder. It's one of the best places in Colorado to live in, to come and to shop and to enjoy. I really enjoy being a state legislator. This is my first session. I've been on city council for 4 years now. I will term out in November, but I've been on council for 4 years. So when this opportunity came to join the state legislature, I thought it was a great opportunity to broaden not just my experience, but to take what I have learned over the last 3.5 years at the time to the state capitol, because as you know, local government is closest to the people. So I have had that experience. I know the concerns of my community and I know my community pretty well. So I thought, hey, here's an opportunity for me to go to the state capitol and reflect some of the values of Boulder out there.
I think that's great. And certainly sounds like you're busy serving on both the city council and in the legislature at the same time. Well, cool. Well, like I mentioned before, you did sponsor a bill that was really significant for us here at CoPIRG, working on public health, working to improve Colorado's air quality. The bill was HB 23-1272, tax policies to advance decarbonization. And like I mentioned before, this bill was a package of a bunch of different policies that'll collectively help reduce pollution and improve our air quality. It contained tax incentives for electric vehicles and electric bikes, greenhouse gas emission reduction incentives for industrial facilities, incentives for geothermal heat pumps and sustainable aviation fuel. Can you tell us a little bit about how you came to sponsor this bill? And were there any pieces in particular that were really important to you personally?
Yeah, thank you. This particular bill is a bill that came from the governor's office. It's one of the governor's priorities, although I can't speak for him. But when I knew this bill was coming online or it was coming to the state legislature, I advocated to be one of the sponsors. And I wanted to make sure as well that you're aware that Rep. Weissman is also one of the primary sponsors of the bill. So it was the two of us. And I advocated to be one of those legislators who help champion and advocate for this bill. And part of the reasons why I wanted to do it is because in Boulder, our primary concern really is environmental. You'll hear in Boulder, people may have questions or we may have conversations and debate about what is important to us as a community, but you'll know that the people of Boulder rally behind environmental change or environmental sustainability and climate mitigation. So for me, when this bill, when the governor brought this bill forward as part of his priority, I was like, yes, I am ready. I want to run this bill. And another reason why I felt I was very compelled by the issues that this bill championed as a tax credit is the EV credit and also the e-bike, right? It really takes care of, I would have to say to you, part of what moves me or what pushes me to wake up every day and be a legislator is some of our equity concerns in the community. As you know, I really believe wealthy people will be able to take care of themselves by virtue of the fact that they have a lot of resources. Money can buy you a lot of resources, but working people is very different because of the lack of money, right? there's a lack of resources. So I really believe that as a legislator, I try to stand in the gaps. And then this bill has a lot of equity component attached to it, although it has industrial incentives. But for me, it's the consumer, everyday person that really kind of draw me to this bill. Because if you can't afford a car, right? Because not everyone can afford a car, but you might be able to afford an e-bike. So to me, that was really compelling to me, because even as a legislator, I am a working person. I am a bit younger, but there are quite a few legislators who are younger than I am, but I'm new into the workforce. So you may not be able to buy a car right away, but you'll be able to get an incentive to buy an e-bike. Again, that's still, protecting our environment or air. Instead of, let's say, driving on the weekend, you can bike on the weekend. So I really think this is a great bill. It's very, very consumer oriented when it comes to the EV incentives and also the e-bike incentives.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for sharing that. And as someone who used the city of Denver's e-bike incentive program to buy an e-bike, and now I use that to take my son to and from school, I really appreciated the role of the incentive in helping me make that decision and make that purchase, because it's often the high upfront cost that can be a deterrent. So I think this incentive is really powerful. We've seen how successful the Denver program is, so it's really exciting to see it roll out on a state level. And I agree, it's not one thing again that's going to solve Colorado's air pollution problem. Like you said, it's a variety of different things. And I think what this bill is really great about is it's helping create more choices for people. And those choices are going to help improve our air quality. So yeah, thanks so much. And it's really exciting over the next year to watch some of these programs and incentives, start to come to fruition. So before we wrap up on this, what do you see as next steps, either in terms of implementation, studies, policies that you would like to see or you hope for or envision around electrification or decarbonization? What's in the Junie Joseph hopper?
Thank you so much. I have to say to you, I'm very lucky to be in a place like Boulder, right? Because the state, everyone is not equal, or every policy issue is not implemented equally because of the different issues. Some areas, it's very much, there's a lot of fracking, and fracking is part of their economy. But in Boulder, it is not, right? We have a lot of clean energy in Boulder, and we have a lot of clean energy employers in Boulder. So it allows me to be very bold. So I'm very grateful for that. And I do see my role as someone, I have to be thoughtful in the way that I work, in the way that I legislate, because I have some understanding of, hey, Boulder, we can be bold, but in other communities, because they rely on, on fossil fuel, it's very different. So we have to consider the impact of our legislation on them. But I'm still very grateful for the work. I have to say to you, I do see, I guess, opportunities, right, for improvement in this field. And it's something that is very personal to me. Currently, where I live, I rent. I'm a renter. Again, as I mentioned to you, I'm a working class person. So when I walk onto the halls of the legislature, I can't help but to think about working class issues. And I was not able to buy an electric vehicle this year, even though I was one of the people who championed and carried this bill. And part of the reason why I was not able to buy an electric vehicle, even though I just bought a car not even a month ago, I just bought a car. And at the time when I bought the car, I could have had the opportunity to take this credit, but I was not able to because I live in an apartment complex. And in my apartment complex is not properly fitted for electric vehicles. So I think there is a lot of opportunities for infrastructure. We need to grow that infrastructure. Having access and creating more electric vehicles into the community, that's great. But how do we expect working people to take advantage of these EVs, right, if there is no electric charging stations in their neighborhoods? So I think there is an opportunity for us here. Even though we did pass one bill last year, on that front, we need to do more. So I would like to spend more time and more energy and more advocacy into increasing and improving that infrastructure piece of the work that we're doing.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, and particularly the EV charging in multifamily housing is a tough nut to crack. I know there was again a bill passed that helped move that forward, but I think that's agreed a really important area that the state needs to focus on to, like you said, expand EV access and charging to all people across Colorado. Well, yeah, as an advocate who's working on these issues, and on behalf of all our members, we really appreciate your leadership and your insight and looking forward to seeing what comes next. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you and good to see you. And it's a pleasure working with you and all the other stakeholders in this field.